Hey everybody, Z Garcia here, and today I'm going to be doing an express review. I'm going to be reviewing 5 games at once here. These are games that I didn't think deserved an entire video for that review. I didn't want to do it. I didn't think I needed to dive in that deeply. So we're going to go ahead and group all these together, all right? None of these are particularly good games also, in my opinion. There's that as well. And hopefully this will be informational. At least I want to, still talk about them. Just didn't want to have to do an entire video for one of these. So we're going to kick it off with the first one, the one that hurts the most, I got to tell you. And this is Olympus Races, a little game I backed on Kickstarter from a European designer / illustrator who did the artwork and the game design. And the game is gorgeous. I think it's a very cute looking game. It looked simple but very charming, which is why I backed it. In it, you are one of the gods from the pantheon here. You are going to be racing to the end, and you do that with cards that have numbers. So you'll be playing cards, moving along that many spaces, landing on things that might affect you. Sort of a roll and move. Each one of them has special abilities, and they have a section of the track that is their section, and bad things happen there, but not to them. So they are immune from their own piece of the track. Cute idea. That's pretty neat. The game, unfortunately, is even more old school, let's call it, than I was expecting. There's a lot of miss your turn, I take an extra turn, I set you back 12 spaces, switch seats at the table, those kinds of actions, which are really powerful and nasty and particularly dated mechanisms and ideas in games, honestly. I was so charmed by the look of the game, I even tried to sort of strip out the cards I found problematic in the game, the ones that are just too powerful, too nasty, and I end up stripping more than half the content out of the game. So it's not really something I can kind of make a little more palatable for myself. It is the kind of game it is. It's kooky, it's silly, and on top of that, as the player count goes up, the game length goes up considerably, mind you. This is a game that very, very much will outstay its welcome at anything above 3 players, I would say. Okay? So, lovely, lovely game, looking game. Fantastic passion project from that point of view. I think is a lot of love went into this. The gameplay, though, I think is particularly derivative and just not fun to play. So this is going to get a 4 out of 10 from me. Next up, we are looking at Amazonas from Fractal Juegos. And this is a little card game that is yet another version of the traditional card game golf, or it's based on golf. What games? What game is golf? What games are based on golf? The best known one is Cabo, Silver, Paper Safari is based on golf. This is yet another one. You have usually 4 cards face down in front of you. You're going to be switching those around with other players, with the deck, and whenever you want to call it, you say you're out. Everybody finishes the round, and then whoever has the lowest total in front of them scores some points. That's golf. That's Cabo, right? I mean, if you've ever played Cabo, I could have just described that game. This one does nothing interesting with that golf structure. In fact, I would say of all the ones I mentioned there, this is the weakest one. I think Cabo is okay. I think this is very much weaker than that. The special effects on the cards, which is kind of what makes or breaks these games. Most of the cards are numbers, but then some of them will have special abilities. The ones in here are incredibly basic and boring. Look at a card. Switch a card. There's one special ability that is literally both of those. Look at a card and switch a card, which is obviously twice as good as the other one. It's just not interesting. It forgot to add anything interesting to the original games that use golf except for the artwork. Artwork is cool in this game. Very, very lovely illustrations. But the gameplay here, and a perfect example of been there, done that. So this one also is going to get a 4 out of 10 from me. Next up, we are looking at $1 Million Script. $1 Million Script is a party game in which you break up into teams and you make up movie pitches as the game guides you through that, with one person sort of being the movie executive, right? The exec at the company, at the producer, right? I think this one has one particularly fantastic use, and that is to be played in front of other people who are going to enjoy the game. I think the people playing the game, and therefore what you'll normally be doing with this, I assume, if you are purchasing it, I think that part isn't nearly as fun as a structure for a viewing entertainment sort of experience. I think playing this game is a little long. It's a little too structured. There's too many steps and specific things. There's a couple of interesting character creation things in here that I think are neat, but the gameplay is just not that fun. There are already a decent amount of pitch me your item games out there, right? Snake Oil and that sort of game. But wait, there's more. That's a good one. That's a fun, party game that uses the same ideas and has way less structure, and sort of the bones of the thing, the shape of it fades into the background as you continue playing the game. This one is so well structured, probably does such a good job of what it's trying to simulate, that it gets in the way of just telling stupid stories. Unless people are watching, and then they can laugh at what you're coming up with. So I think as an experience, a viewing experience, yes, it's neat. I think as a game I'm going to bring to the table, I'll be passing on this one. I just didn't think it worked out that well as just a silly party game. So this one's going to get a 5.5. Didn't hate it. Didn't really like it either. And I don't think I'd recommend it over other similar games. Next up, we're taking a look at a small game from Helvetique. This is Winston, which is a light little sort of set collection card game. Definitely with kids in mind, I would say. In this one, you are going to be playing cards to the center of the table to create doggies that you are making longer and longer. They have a head, and then as many body parts as you want to put on them, and then the tail, the back legs and the tail. On your turn, you have to play at least 2 cards. This is communal, mind you. And if there's a red dog going, you cannot create a new red dog on the table. You can add to that one, as long as it's a logical part, but you can't create one. Now, as soon as you complete one by having, the back and the front and at least a couple of body parts, I think it is, then you score that thing and you put it face down in front of you, and somebody else could start one. So it's one of those, I don't want to do too much because I'm helping other people, but if you are holding back the right cards, you could go boop, 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 and complete one and then score that. There's also a clever idea in here in which the longest dog made is going to give you this bone piece, and that's going to be bonus points at the end of the game. If anybody makes one that's longer or as long as the last one that was made that was the longest, they take it from you. There's also a little poop. And if you have the shortest dog, then you get this. If somebody makes one equally short or shorter, then they take it away, and that'll be penalty points. Clever, cute idea there with that sort of running goal that you're trying to either take or avoid. So, yeah, this one's pretty neat. I enjoyed it. It's definitely, like I said, targeting kids. I think it's that kind of game. Artwork and the gameplay is very much one that's going to be kid-friendly. But I think it worked pretty well. If maybe it depends on the kids, but it might be a little mean if the kids keep building things up and you keep finishing them and taking it away, scoring it. But having said all that, this is a fun little package. I would certainly recommend this one if if the young ones particularly like doggies. They like the artwork in here, and you can just laugh about the fact that it comes with poop in the box. So this is going to get a 6 out of 10 from me. And then lastly, I'm taking a look at the Sherlock Files. This one happens to be Devilish Details. And the Sherlock Files here, each of these boxes, and there's a few of them, comes with 3 cases. This one has the Maiden Fair, the Merchant, and the Possessed. Each of those is basically about 32 cards. of which you place one face up on the table that shows the scene of a crime, a murder. And you shuffle up the rest of those 30 some odd cards and deal a few, 3 or 4, to the players at the table. You're trying to solve the case. You're trying to figure out the whodunit. You're going to read a little scenario setup, and then on your turn you play a card from your hand and you share the information on that card. It'll be usually a text, some passage. Or you discard a card face down out of the game. You have to do one of those two, and then you draw a card from the deck. Then the next player will do that. And you keep going until all the cards have been played or discarded. You have to discard at least 6 in the game. You can't just play them all. Once that's done, then you'll open up this little leaflet and read the questionnaire. Who killed so-and-so? What was so-and-so stealing? Why was this person in this room? That kind of question. They're multiple choice, which I liked. You answer that, then you can open up the thing one more time. It's a quad fold thing. Open it up again and read what actually happened. Be scored on what happened. The main trick then with that scoring is, and the reason you discard cards, you get 2 points for every question you answered correctly. And there's about 8 or 10 of those. And then you lose a point for every card you showed everybody, which was unnecessary. You're going to be, pulled back a little bit when you're scoring. You don't really know which cards are unnecessary, especially early in the game. You are guessing. It's not that big a deal because the score is ultimately really kind of meaningless. It's a game about trying to solve a case and that you have fun, I think. But it does seem a little arbitrary. However, I played, of all the 3 cases here, I have played with multiple player counts. I have to say, I don't think solitaire is the way to go on this one. I did like the multiplayer. 3 players I think is good. I think that's a good player count. And I did enjoy it all right. It comes with 3. They are played very quickly. The whole box here says 1 to 8 players, which I think is nuts. Don't play with that many. It also says 60 minutes. I also don't think it's 60 minutes. You can play each of these in about 20, 25 minutes. They are very quick and straightforward. So if you enjoy that kind of whodunit, this might be one you want to check out if you're looking for one that is super straightforward. I do wish the artwork was a little bit better in the game. Almost every card, like I said, is just a piece of writing. That'd be nice if it was a little more mixing up of what's going on. But if you enjoy those kinds of games and you want one that is not as punishing as sometimes these deduction games or not deduction, but they are, whodunit is the best way I can describe it. If you're looking for those and you usually find them a little obtuse, like the logic sort of gets in its own way, or you find them just too hard to figure it out, then this might be a good one. All the information is there on the cards. You just sort of are dealt that information in a random way, and you can't see the whole picture till all the cards have been played or discarded. Plus, you get that multiple choice, of answering the questions. I like those things. Still, the game's not great. I just recently reviewed Suspects, which is this kind of game, and that game is beautiful, very well structured. Yes, the logic can sometimes be a little iffy, but it's a pleasure to play. And this was okay to play. It's a pleasant enough way to kill 25 minutes with a couple of people. So this is going to get a 6.5 from me. If you were very much a fan of the style, I think you'll have some fun with it. And the great part is, once you're done, you can give it to somebody else. It's just a deck of cards. 3, right? So there you go. That's it, everybody. That's 5 different games and my thoughts on them. Hopefully you found the video informative and helpful. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Z Garcia. I'm going to see you on the next one.